Welcome to Conversations on the Edge with Tom and TJ, where Generation X and Millennial talk about restoration, the Edge version 3, and the world.
All right, here we are with podcast number 5. It's just me and TJ today. We're going to have some fun today because today is TJ's day. You guys hear me talk all the dang time. TJ's actually going to demonstrate how the Edge works for him and his company. And that's going to be really cool. I'm very excited about that. He's going to actually walk us through a project. It's going to be very cool, but we always have to start out with something fun, exciting going on in our lives. TJ, you got anything fun and exciting happening right now?
I'm coaching baseball, Little League baseball, and that season's about to start ramping up. And they're 8 years old and have no attention span, so it's a really fun time. Just trying to enjoy it.
Is it baseball? Is it baseball or t-ball at that point?
Yeah, it's baseball. They're actually my son's going into kid pitch, where it's the first year where the kids actually pitch and have a catcher.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's going to be pure chaos, guaranteed.
I have no doubt. I can only imagine. It's got to be a little nerve-wracking though too, because now you're coaching, and so are there other fathers or other parents?
Oh yeah, man. Like I'm a great kind of sit on the sidelines coach. I recruit the dads in, let them do most of the work, and I'm just perusing.
Yeah, you got to get people involved, or else you take too much of the blame.
Yeah, from the mothers.
Yeah, because it's got to be very stressful all of a sudden.
Oh no, I had one that yelled at me at practice to let her son hit, and we were all letting the kids take turns, and she yelled at me from the stands.
Come on.
Yeah. I'll take a disaster recovery scene over getting yelled at by a baseball bomb any day.
I would have to agree. Send me out on the worst job and putting up with a bleacher mom, because man, it's got to be intense. It's because there's so much expectations. They want their kids to do so well. You want their kids to do well.
Yep.
And on top of that, you don't want anybody to get hurt. And because, you get hurt, it's going to be all your fault.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
What's going on with you, Tom? What's new?
Well, I have a sin to confess today to everyone. I broke the 11th commandment. And I'm very ashamed of myself. Those of you who aren't familiar with the 11th commandment, that is, thou shalt not eat at McDonald's twice in one day. And I did.
Oh, gosh.
It was a very busy day, and it started early this morning. I've been all over the place. I had a whole bunch of running around to do, and I was running out of time. And this morning, started out this morning, and then just before our call here, I had to slam down something. And so I was like, oh my God, I can't
Don't do it.
At McDonald's twice in one day. Usually I'll hit Jersey Mike's, but there's not one close by here. And
Yep.
So I sinned, and I'm gonna pay for it tomorrow at the gym or later tonight. I don't know which one. I already got the Pepto-Bismol already, but had to do what I had to do.
Yep. Duty calls.
It was the quickest in and out, but yeah. I don't recommend it.
Man.
I usually only do McDonald's maybe. Oh crap, maybe a couple times a month. Yeah,
literally. Oh crap.
All right, so let's dive in. And TJ, I'm going to turn it over to you, and TJ's going to put together from the very beginning inside the Edge on an actual project that he's done. And TJ, I'll let you tell the story and everything there, and you can just follow along at home with how this works. And this is real time. This is how this system works for TJ and his company, as well as, hundreds of other companies too, that guys that are using it. And so TJ, it's all yours, buddy.
Yeah, so what I really want to lay the foundation for is what I'm going to walk through is most applicable to your estimator that probably is in the office that might not necessarily go to the job site. And you might have a competitive situation where you've got, the guys in green are on site, you're on site trying to get the job, and you're going to need something turned around pretty quickly. To try to help win the job. And so think about the perspective that I'm going to walk through this and how fast we were able to generate an estimate on site. I actually did this one on site and we closed the job right there and they kicked them off. So I'll share my screen here. Let me share.
So this was a competitive job.
It was.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, that's what this is all about. It's about giving you the edge to where you can do exactly, what you're doing here. All right, I'm gonna show.
Yep. No, I mean I called you that weekend, Tom, and I'm like, we won this job because of the edge.
Yeah. Awesome.
Literally.
Awesome.
But to lay the foundation for the project, it's a 3,500 square foot facility. It's actually an axe throwing facility.
Yeah.
So kind of in a semi-commercial, retail type facility with concrete floors. Had a 6-inch fire main burst under the slab overnight, and it ran for about 7 hours before they found it. Wow. And it flooded the facility. I mean, you can see all the mud, and water that just is everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So this is our original docu-sketch. You can see the facility layout, over here. They have a bar area, a couple offices and bathrooms back here beyond the entryway. So when I get a file and I have access to a geospatial scan, it's going to give me my sketch very quickly, which gives you your square foot number, right? Mm-hmm. And so maybe the first thing I'm going to do is just walk through this building and look at the site conditions. What type of loss do we have? What's affected? I can see that it's, low level on affected drywall, big muck out, lots of extraction. But for the most part, the entire facility is going to be treated really as one kind of chamber. Pop over to the hallway. You can see we've got some contents. And so it really, walking through the scan gives me a good idea of visually, what is my scope of work?
Yeah.
And then I also can derive my square footage number, either from my field team. If it's not, an urgent situation, you can wait till you get your ESS back. But what I have my field team produce, and we use Encircle, and we're big on our general notes. And so what my field team will go in and do is, they'll do measurements and give me a rough square footage number. Mm-hmm. They'll give me cubic volume, and we'll do an initial takeoff on, what kind of CFM and equipment that we're going to need mainly to stabilize this thing. I'm not worried about a drying plan. I'm not worried about air movers at this point. What kind of dehumidification and air scrubbing do we need to get going once we extract to stabilize this facility? And so my team does a fantastic job of putting that in the notes so that information is available to anybody on my team that needs it, particularly who's ever putting together, the scope of work and our ROM. Mm-hmm. So once I have that, I'll go through and look at the pictures. If I don't have the docu-sketch back, the pictures might come back quicker, but it's really going to give me the same information that I need. So once I have my square foot number, we can start building out our file. And Tom, feel free to interrupt me if
No, rock and roll.
at any point. So I know I have about 3,500 square feet. I figure with the conditions and the content that's in there, our actual working days really aren't going to be a ton. So we'll just go with 14.
Okay.
And I'm going to consider, in those working days, that's going to be extraction, stabilization, structural demolition, and cleaning,
Mhm.
with give or take for, asbestos testing and some other, potential delays or complexities that we might encounter.
Mhm.
So when I get down to my mitigation level, I'm going to select my facility type. Probably the most applicable is going to be tenant space.
Okay.
We got water. I'm not going to check mold or asbestos. I think our max ceiling height was somewhere around 15 feet, if I recall. Our contaminant level is definitely a 3.
Okay.
A lot of this was nasty black groundwater,
Yep.
but we actually had it tested. There was all kinds of nasty stuff in that water. I know that now, after the fact.
Yep.
Facility content concentration is very minimal. So I'm going to go with a 1, just one level.
Okay.
We don't have any, well, we did have some false airspace. We will have some content. We will be doing demo. Um, and then these won't be applicable.
Yep.
So that gives me my production rate of about 192. So I'm going to insert that into the edge. And I think that's probably pretty accurate.
Okay.
So I get into my labor component. I know I'm going to have a project manager, for that full time. He's going to be there 8 hours a day, not 1. Project accountant, maybe 1 or 2 hours a day.
Okay.
Supervisory labor. And then for my production labor, because the square footage really wasn't that huge, it only gave me 1 technician for 14 days. And I know that's not accurate.
Yep. That's just your baseline. And so you're going to add to it.
Yep. So I'm going to add some supplemental. Oh, I'm just going to put sup labor.
Okay.
And I'll probably have,
5
eh,
people.
yeah, a PM, supervisory labor.
And then 5 production.
Yeah, probably 5. Between supervisory and production, supervisor is going to do a little bit on a job this size, right?
Yep.
He's not just going to be standing there.
Yep. We hope not.
Yeah,
Some companies they do, but I
not
prefer
mine.
I prefer my I'm that way too. I prefer my supervisors and also project managers to get in there, not necessarily on everything, but that's how you build your team.
Right. So, looking at my labor component just off the bat,
Hmm.
that might be a little high. Just
Hmm.
looking at the subtotal. Um, on a job like this, you're really just going to have 1 PM and not necessarily supervisory labor.
Yeah.
So I might just take that supervisory labor out.
Okay.
And that looks okay. We'll
Yeah.
come back and visit it probably.
Yeah. Your PM is going to be your supervisor.
Right. On a job like this, it's not
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
So this was a local job, so I know I don't have any substance. I'm gonna immediately kill that. Um, on this particular job, I did have to bring in a subcontractor for extraction.
Hmm.
I personally don't maintain truck mounts in my fleet, and I have great relationships with other companies that do, that are very reliable. So just knowing that my extraction cost, is going to be a lot higher because I'm treating it as a subcontractor, I'm going to start bumping bumping that up. Company owned equipment is probably really low. Just given the amount of linear feet of walls that we have in here. It's not a huge facility, but we have a lot of linear feet.
Mhm.
But most of it was metal studs. So we did have very little actual drying. It was mainly the dehumidification and
Okay.
air scrubbing. So I might bump this up to 30%. We're not going to have a ton of supplies and materials. I mean, we might set, you know, looking at this scan with this floor floor plan of this facility, we might set containment here
Hmm.
once we're done extracting, and I think that's what we actually did end up doing. Just to keep one side clean once we did get it clean, and then focus on another area. So I'm probably going to bump my supplies and materials back down. Might be a little low. 5,000. Yeah, we'll see where that gets us.
Okay.
Now I could have put my extraction,
Hmm.
down here. Knowing what I know now after the fact, this would have been way too low. So I might bump this back down.
And then line
And
it.
yeah. And I think it was around actually about $18,000 for extraction. Because we had to extract it basically 3 times
Okay.
over because of all the mud.
Okay.
So I'll go down to my supplemental services. Don't have any documents that are affected. We did have some stabilization and some deodorization. The sewer smell coming out of that fire line was actually amazing. I'm going to leave structural drying alone for now.
Okay.
I'm only treating this job for purposes of mitigation right now, so I'm not going to mess with recon or anything like that. Put in our taxable amount, so that'd be my materials, which is about $5,028. 7.25. Get my taxes thrown in there.
You always got to
So
cover.
how are we looking? So we're landing right now at about 95,000 total. I love this estimate range.
Hmm.
Generally, depending on the job and how accurate I think I'm going to be, I'll either do 10 or 15% on the low and high
Yep.
to give that range. So that kind of puts us at 85, 104 with the median at 95.
Yep.
And knowing what I know now, hindsight 2020, because we are just now wrapping this job up, that's a pretty solid number.
Very good. And you had some heavy days of stabilization in there too.
Yep,
That was approved by the carrier
yep. So
and by
is
the
this
client.
amount, when I first got this job, did I think that we would stabilize this job for 2 weeks? No way. But there were some complexities with the source, being under the concrete. It actually bent and bowed the metal studs in the area. You see this drywall cracking right
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
The slab actually picked up 3 to 4 inches
Yep.
from the water pressure, and it bent those metal studs in all these walls.
Wow.
And so we had to bring engineers in. We had to get a game plan together because there was a restaurant next door. And so it took a couple weeks to really get a solid plan that was out of our control. It was being handled by the property owner. But the client and all parties involved agreed that we needed to continue to stabilize during that time period
Yep.
to prevent it from just getting significantly worse.
No,
So we ended up stabilizing for about 2 weeks.
and he stabilized and did the muck out and extraction and yeah.
Yep. So I can actually show you some of the progression. We can jump ahead to some of the scans, jump back out here. After we extracted, we got all the content, on plastic, got some dehumidification going, and then progressed to, our demo once we got testing back.
And the testing should have been fine on that.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
nothing concerning. So, because it was mostly metal studs in this situation, I knew that the facility had very, very little wood framing.
Mhm.
And really, we're all concrete floors, very little wood. So, doing this estimate, I probably would not have put in for structural drying. Because really at the beginning, we didn't think we were going to get any drying in. We thought it was just going to be pure stabilization for a few days.
Yeah.
So, knowing that, I'm still going to leave this blank. And, that's when I come back up and kind of visit my numbers, and I might, tweak some things here and there. This is a smaller job, probably bump the accountant down to 1 hour a day. PM, production labor. So I feel pretty good.
It looks good. It looks it's healthy. Your number is a little bit on the higher side because of, the stabilization. But
Yeah, so where are we at? 26.79 a square foot?
yeah, everybody was on board though with the stabilization, and you got it approved. And so there's no surprises, which is the number one thing that we want to have on all of our projects is no surprises. Our clients have been through something that they've never been through before, and they don't need any more surprises or any more problems. We want to be the solution to what they've got going on. And this looks really good. Now, has the adjuster seen the number and everything? He's on board with everything.
Well, I mean, remember, this was a competitive situation,
Yeah.
so I had a competitor standing there with me,
That's right.
walking the loss when all that water and mud was in there.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, the quicker that we can show our capabilities to perform this job, give him a number and a scope,
Mhm.
the quicker he's going to be able to make a decision and the more likely he's going to decide on choosing us, right? And so I actually went out to my truck in the parking lot, whipped up the edge, and I put this together, right on the spot. Do you want to go into doing the project scope on this, Tom?
Well, let me elaborate on what you just said there, because I think everybody has to understand that you got this job, and for the guys out there that are saying, well, why do we need to know our numbers, that quick or whatever? The reason is you won this job against a big competitor, and because you did it on the spot, because
Right.
because you were able to put together a ROM number in your truck, and you didn't have to go back to the office. You didn't have to, have a committee, and that's the beautiful thing of this, and that's what this is all about. It's about giving you the power, and it's just so. I can't stress it enough to the restorers that are listening. This tool gives you the power to create a ROM like TJ did in the parking lot and steal a project away from a very large competitor. And this is what it's all about. And if you're that competitor that that lost to TJ, you need to get on the edge.
That's right.
I'm sorry. If you're not on the edge, then you're going to get your butt kicked by people who are.
That's right. And
And
so this is exactly what I did on my phone with a voice note. So I pulled up ChatGPT and I just told it, these are the conditions. This is what I'm dealing with.
Mhm.
A 6-inch fire main burst. Facility is all concrete floors.
This is where, where we are with technology is going to be really fun. And when everybody gets to see, what we've got cooking, for the next version of the Edge, which will it's going to be quite awesome. And so this is really exciting. And see walk through the whole thing. And everybody just remember that this can be done out, while you're sitting out in a truck or while you're sitting across the street at Waffle House, and your team's working, doing your damage assessment next door. You can be putting together your scope of work, your estimate, the contract. You can be putting everything together and walk back across the street and sign the job. Game over. Game
Yes,
over.
I mean, look how quick this sped out.
Yep.
Just a rough scope of work.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And you just go through and edit it, read
yeah.
through it, and make sure you read through anything that you do in AI so it makes sense. Because most of it will, but there will be a little section that you probably have to make some changes to, and you can expect it, and so, but this is fantastic.
And the main thing that I really focus on once I get this scope of work, of course, I go through and read it and I tell it to make any changes that, I deem necessary or I want removed. But the main things I want it to say are the things that we're not going to do and what's not included.
Yep. Yep.
So please make sure to note the scope of work does not include any reconstruction. Or hazardous, oop,
Almost.
material abatement, which we will bring an industrial hygienist in to test for. So it's going to revise my scope of work, add an initial equipment takeoff, demo, cleaning, drying. Prior to demolition, we're going to bring in testing. And it is outside of the scope of work for any hazardous material abatement. Here's an initial equipment takeoff, and our documentation. So because I was in a hurry, I reviewed that to my satisfaction, copied that, went back over here into the Edge. I love your template, Tom, but sometimes it's not set up for speed.
Yeah, I know. We're getting there.
And I paste my scope of work in there.
And kaboom.
And kaboom. So now I have my estimate, my scope of work, and I can PDF this. I'm not going to include the cover sheet because I don't have any client information or anything in there. And I can create my itemized estimate.
And there you go.
Breaks down labor, my project costs, subcontractors, vendors, any supplemental services, taxes, where we're at per square foot.
Yep.
And the most important thing is the range.
Yep.
I explain that range to my client and review the scope, in some detail. But I was able to give this to him with a contract, within 15, 20 minutes. It actually took way less time than reviewing it here just because I'm walking through it step by step.
Yeah, whenever you got a demonstrate it, it takes longer. But think about that, everybody that is listening here. It took us 30 minutes to do this in demonstrating it to you. It actually took TJ, less half that time to do it in a parking lot and to be ready for, to walk across the street, give it to the client, win the job, and then the competitor comes back, and what
Well,
what
that's
happened?
actually the
What happened?
competitor was in there. By the time I brought this estimate in to my client, the competitor was still in there shooting walls with the laser trying to get square footage.
Game
So
over.
yeah, we made them look silly.
It's game over. And again, if you're not using this tool, you need to get on the edge. You need to put it in your toolbox. Why not have every weapon that you can possibly have at your exposure? Because you're going to war, and this is a competitive situation. We walk on the field. You need to be ready to play, and you need to be ready to win. And if you want to be in that spot, uh, and like I said earlier, if you're against somebody who's on the edge and they know how to use it, you're gonna end up on the losing end of it.
And what
And
I love, Tom, is like as you use it consistently over time and you get really good at using it, you know on your quick check per square foot
yeah,
where you want to be just by
yeah,
looking at,
yeah,
I can look at any docu-sketch now and know where we should be based on how we produce work, our production rate. I
yeah,
know where I want to be on my estimate just from looking at a docu-sketch.
yeah.
And I love being in that 20 to 30 foot range. Is it a little high? Yeah. But when you come back and actually produce the work at 15 to $18 a square foot, you look like a
Yep.
hero.
Yep. Because we're estimating here, and that's the key. Is we're estimating, we're putting together the scope of work, the estimate, we're getting approved to do the job. We start to work. We get paid for what we actually do, or what the actual square footage is. And the beautiful thing of it is this tool won you this job, and it's exciting because I it's one of many that are out there. And what I love, TJ, is you're dialing everything in, and you're taking this thing to where I want it to go for everyone. And so it's really exciting to see, this job for you. And I think it's awesome. I thank you. Thank you. I feel good because I'm not the one doing the demo. Usually
Yeah,
I
I mean,
look,
Tom, how much is the Edge now? Is it
oh,
for an annual subscription?
oh, it's 8.99 for an annual.
Yeah, so I mean, look, 8.99 for an entire year
Yeah.
landed me an almost six-figure job.
Yeah, 8.99. You paid for it when you opened it up and looked at it.
Yeah.
And that's the insane thing about it. And some people will be like, "Oh, I can't be that fast." And it is. It is that fast, and it is that accurate. And again, if you're not using it, I got to ask you why. I really do. I got to ask you
Well,
why.
throw them a discount code for listening to this episode.
Well, you can always use a discount. I'll give you 10% off. Use Elite 10. If you use the code Elite 10, you'll get 10% off just for listening to us talk today. But that's awesome, TJ. I love it. This is my passion. I've dreamt of this tool, back in the late 90s. And it wasn't until all the pieces came together with some of my mentors and all the pieces that I put together to actually bring this to life, 4 years ago. And so actually 5 years ago now, it's like time is flying by. But if you don't have this tool, get it today. Use the code ELITE10, and I'll put it up on the screen. ELITE10, when you're checking out, you get 10% off. And you can always email me at tom@largelossmastery.com if you have any questions at all. And I'll gladly, I'm available. I make myself very accessible, pretty much 7 days a week. I'm a workaholic, and so if I don't answer your email within 24 hours, then call my mom. Something happened.
Tell him to call me, Tom. Don't tell him to call your mom.
Call TJ.
Yeah, I'll be happy. Anybody that wants to talk to me about it, bring it on. Gets me excited.
No, it's very, the thing of it is, TJ, too, is that this story, this walkthrough, this is a real job. This is real. TJ's currently building this project, and this is one of many. And we took a little break in between our last podcast, and now we had a lot of stuff happen between the beginning of July and now. And lost my friend and mentor Mickey Lee last week, and so had to take a little time off to recalibrate and everything. But we're back now, and we're back before at the beginning of the month we were on with Brad Hinkle, and Brad does the same thing. He uses the edge. He told us he even uses it on board ups, which I never in my wildest imagination thought, okay, a board up. But it's true. If you have labor on the job, it doesn't matter if it's mitigation, it doesn't matter if it's mold remediation, asbestos abatement, recon, remodel, whatever it is. If you have labor on the job, you can use this tool, because labor, that's the most common factor in all restoration, reconstruction, construction projects. The most common factor is labor. And if we're always looking at it that way and saying, oh man, okay, we're always focused on our labor, then we always have our production dialed in, because we want to set the proper expectations at the beginning of the job. Because when we do that, it makes everything else so much easier. The client is on board with us. You're bringing them along. And again, as I always say, we're taking the customer on this journey with us in restoration. Here's what the job is going to look like today. Here's what it's going to look like tomorrow. And here's what it's going to look like when we're done. So we're always on that journey with our client. We're always keeping them up to date, always giving them the best possible service that we can give them. And it all starts with your estimate, your scope of work, your damage assessment. It starts right there.
Yeah, and so, winning this job, we were able to go in and do the damage assessment and pump the brakes and do it the way that we needed to. But that's why I love doing my scope of work like this really quickly.
Yeah, I love it.
Because clients can't read Xactimate. It
Nope.
makes their head spin. And even if you could get one together that fast, they still don't understand it.
Nope.
And so when you break it down into steps like this, one, site stabilization, extraction.
Yeah.
Then we're going to do demo. Then we're going to clean. Then we're going to dry.
Yeah.
And then your ancillary, post remediation verification. Here's how much equipment a loss like this is going to require. Here's our promise to you on documentation.
This is the only tool that can get you those numbers that quickly.
Yeah.
And time and time again, we've proven that. And I love this example that you did here. This is awesome. I've got to get my, because I use AI to write, manuals and stuff, but I need to dial in a tool that, just like what you did, but I need to add that feature in somehow into the scope writing tool and into the edge, so that we can. So we'll work on that. I'll lean on you to educate me on the new stuff. I'm trying not to be the old guy in the room, but I am, and that's just the way it is. But I love this stuff. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it was, did I have an advantage because I knew where my actual invoice was at? A little bit. But I mean, I built that off the rip, just using what the edge told me to flow through, you know?
Yep.
And, we almost hit it right on the dot for where we're at. Were we a little high on labor? Yeah. But we were really low on equipment. This was kind of a complexity with stabilizing for as long as we did, but we about nailed it on the head in less than 10 minutes. So
Yep.
if you show me somebody that can do that in Xactimate, yeah.
And then like you said, to walk over, and if you're there with the client, and nothing wrong with Xactimate. Xactimate is a great tool. Don't want anybody to think that I'm a bashing Xactimate. That's
No.
not what this is. In fact, the Edge is a perfect companion tool for Xactimate. So you can do this on the front end, and then you can go spend time creating your Xactimate estimate to match your Edge estimate. But you can
I
do
mean,
this.
that's exactly what we do, Tom.
Yeah.
We use the edge even on residential losses, and we'll use it to estimate and provide a ROM and determine, how much do we want to obtain on a deposit if it's a really large job. And we'll produce the work doing time and material, and then we'll build out an Xactimate on the back end. And if it's more advantageous to us to build with Xactimate, we are not scared to
Yeah.
by any means.
And that's the key for everybody to remember is this is a companion tool for Xactimate. Because if you're trying to put your Xactimate together as quickly as we did with the Edge, it's not going to happen. And even if you did, when you walked across the street to meet up with the client is going to look at this and read through the scope and be able to understand it much clearer than they will Xactimate. And so, and again, nothing wrong with Xactimate, but the Edge is a perfect companion tool for Xactimate.
Yep. That's how we do it. That's our process right there.
Awesome, awesome. Push the screen share button,
Yeah.
and then we'll come back to. All right, that's awesome stuff, man. That is
Yeah.
awesome. And
Really
I
cool.
and again, for everybody that's listening, I mean, I know this is my baby and everything like that, but it's built for you to use. It's built for you to win projects. It's built for you to succeed. And it's not about me. It's not about, it's about you. It's out there waiting for you. If you're not using it, get it, make it happen for you. Get like TJ, where you're taking on a much larger competitor and winning, and make that happen.
Yeah.
Whew.
You just got to think, what if, how much, and how long? I
What
mean,
if, how much, how long? That's if you're always thinking that,
yeah,
you're always ready. All right. The t-shirt looks good, man.
yeah, they're kind of like a athletic fit. I like it.
Yeah, it's I actually well,
What brand are these?
I can't say where I get them, or else somebody might get
Oh,
online.
they're Kenneth Cole. That's why.
Yes, man, we're first class.
Yeah, I was like, dang, these are nice.
Yeah, they have some spandex in them, so they don't get all. If you get 100% cotton, they get all
Oh,
weird and stuff. I want, by the end of the day, you look like you crawled out of a hole or something. Oh, shoot. All right, buddy. What do you got? Anything that you want to close with? Anything in particular?
no, I mean, you know me. It's about that time to head towards the boat.
Yeah, it's been a good week. I got a lot accomplished. I locked myself up. We had a good webinar yesterday with Encircle, and I think they said there was about 600 registered and 200 that were live with us. So that was awesome. Can't wait to see the video and everything for that. And so, TJ, it is always a pleasure, my friend. And I am, I think I'm going to go find a beer.
I think I'm gonna do the same, buddy.
You'll find a beer in a tiki bar. I gotta, it's time to take a chill pill, and I gotta some work I gotta do tomorrow morning, and I've always got stuff on the weekend, but exciting stuff. Again, if you don't have the Edge, get the Edge at largelossmastery.com and click on Get the Edge. Use the code ELITE10 and you get 10% off just for listening to us today. And I hope this was really helpful. This was a job that TJ won because he was using the Edge. And it was really exciting because he did send me a text message saying, "Hey, where are you at? What are you doing?" And, it's like, and so
wake up.
And so we can't tell you who the competitor was, but the competitor, you know who you are. Get on the Edge so you can compete.
Right. Just not here.
But not in Knoxville.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Hope you enjoy that cold beer.
Likewise.
All right. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right. Cheers.
See you, buddy.
Thanks for listening to Conversations on the Edge with Tom and TJ. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And if you like what you hear, leave us a review. Join us next time for another Conversation on the Edge.